My name is Boo Williams, former NFL player of 7 years, 6 years with the New Orleans Saints, half a year with the Giants. Back in 2011, a couple years after I finished the NFL, I was going through a rough time, trying to find out really who I was, what my gifts were, and really just trying to find out like who I was without the shoulder pads and the helmet. Playing so many years in the league, you kind of get lost in your sport. You kind of get lost like who you are. And when I realized, that I was really losing who I was is the year I got hurt in 2005. The part of my brain that was damaged was the prefrontal cortex. That controls rational thinking and impulse control. For all these years, I've been this athlete, this guy that everybody came to for advice and all these different other things. And now the game was taken from me, and now I'm just a regular person. And I was going through a tough time with my marriage, going through a divorce, and things just spiraled down for me. I found myself laying on the railroad tracks in 2011, about to end my life. And just so happened, some homeless couple walking past the railroad tracks saved my life. They walked me back to my friend's house, and I'm sitting on my friend's couch crying my eyes out, telling them, hey, I need to see somebody, I need to talk to somebody. And the Chloe and Lamar show comes on. And it was a segment where Lamar's friend Jamie was depressed. He was sitting in the house, it was dark, he wasn't shaving, he wasn't showering, he wasn't taking control of his business, and I said, that's me. And then another segment came on the show where he went to a rehab center, and he was doing all these tests, all these scans. He was with all these different doctors that was helping him realize, what his gifts were, who he was, and, just getting him back on a regular transition to life. And he came back to the show and he was a different person. And I said, that's where I need to go. So I picked up the phone, I called the place called the Crosby Center. And I let them know, what my symptoms were, what I was going through, and let them know that, hey, I just tried to commit suicide and laid on the railroad tracks. And they asked me how fast could I get there. So I packed one bag that I had, and I got on the plane and I left to San Diego, California. I was supposed to be at the rehab for 30 days. I ended up staying for 8.5 months. I found out that I was a born leader from birth. I found out I was always a person that gave hope. I was a person that always, inspired people. So I just had to find out a different way on how to turn those negatives those demons and those negatives into a positive. About a year and a half later, something was still missing. Something was still empty from me. So I said, you know what? I need to make a change. And when I decided to make this change, me and my wife at the time were watching Netflix, and the Stanley Brothers come on. And next thing you know, they just talking about all these different types of cannabis, what it can do for you, how it can help you. When I found out what cannabis could do for me, I said, I got to get out there in that business. I got to help people. And I made a promise to myself that night. I said, I have to do something different. So what did I do? I called up the Crosby Center, the place that I went to get my help from. I called them and I said, hey, I have a curriculum that can maybe help other athletes to not go through the same things that I went through, not go through the depression that I went through. And next thing you know, we started a program for athletes. I said, you know what? This is another sign from God that's saying, hey, you can do other things than helping these athletes, with the mental issues. Maybe you can do something in the cannabis like you wanted to. So what I do, I started making my moves in the cannabis industry. 85 to 90% of athletes use cannabis. So if we're going to use cannabis, why not get into it, find out really what is useful for it, how does it help you, and try to share it with the world. Cannabis brings a lot of people together. And I noticed that when you're in a group setting, you tend to express all your different feelings. And when you're in a room full of macho men and macho guys, sometimes, us as guys, we don't want to get those feelings out and tell, what's going on with us because we have this, macho-ness about us. But, cannabis brings down that wall. As long as we can continue to push that part of the medical aspect instead of the stonerism, that's really going to change the stigma and change, how it's viewed, especially in professional sports. And especially on the mental part, we use it so we can slow down, because in professional sports, we're always taught to react and not think. And in regular life, that's not how things go. You have to think before you react, because it's not like a light switch where you could turn it on and turn it off. And professional teams think that once you're finished the game, you're supposed to be an adult and handle these issues on your own and say, hey, this is what I'm supposed to do, this is what I'm not supposed to do. No, you need help because you've been programmed, you've been trained. I came up with the company Booberry Cares because, all my life, I've been called Boo. So what we did was we set out across America and said, we're gonna go and educate people about CBD, my new company, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna just go around and help people. And that's what my brand stands for: caring, giving, sharing, and loving. So we went around to children's hospitals. We went to Salvation Armies. We helped build houses for hurricane victims in Louisiana. And it was just showing that, a cannabis brand can also do other things than just in cannabis. You have to change your culture first before you can change the world.
Medication.